Tonight's fragment is a bit heavy, perhaps, so there you go. Let's just jump right into it. The headline reads, "Unreal," and the body of the text reads as follows: "Proving the non-existence of something can be quite an inconvenient hassle in the middle of the night." And that's it, the whole thing. Unreal, proving the non-existence of something can be quite an inconvenient hassle in the middle of the night. Just this much. The headline and the single sentence to "is the body." This reminds me of one of the other fragments I had in here not too long ago. That one was called "The Playground," but I digress. Back to Unreal. What can we say about this simple little piece of writing? One word for a title, and medium-sized sentence for the rest. Let's begin. It begins with a sound, a creak, a thud, a whisper, maybe even silence, because sometimes silence, when unexpected, is the loudest thing of all. You sit up in bed, blinking at the ceiling. The clock reads 3:12 a.m. Of course it does. That sacred hour when the veil thins, when the mind wanders without permission, when the past returns like a stray dog who never really left the yard, and it is then, right then, that the trial begins. Not in a courtroom, not with a jury, and certainly not in daylight. No, this court convenes in the still, thick dark. And the defendant? That would be nothing. Literally, a non-thing, an absence, a suspicion, an echo, an idea, a presence that may not be present. You see, someone or something has knocked at your peace. You have been disturbed by what is not there, and now the mind demands justice. So the trial begins. You sit upright, mind alert, pulse quickened. Something felt off. Something nudged the edge of sense. And now you are tasked, unreasonably, as always, with proving what is not, proving the non-existence of something. Let me tell you plainly, this is the most impossible burden ever devised by the human mind. You cannot prove what isn't. You can only chase it. Shine lights into corners, open empty closets, stare at phone screens, searching for messages that don't arrive. You can replay the conversation 10,000 times, listening not to what was said, but to what was not said. You can rewind the glance, reanalyze the silence, search the still air for a trace of motive or malice. You can walk through your house like a soldier, inspecting for intruders that exist only in mood, and none of it will prove anything, because what you are trying to prove isn't there. This is the cruel paradox of doubt. This is the graveyard of the mind. The fragment speaks plainly. Proving the non-existence of something can be quite an inconvenient hassle in the middle of the night. Yes, it can. It is, because in the light of day, we are rational. We dismiss the ghosts. We scoff at monsters under the bed. We pride ourselves on logic, on science, on certainty. But at night, at night, all bets are off. At night, the boundaries of reason loosen. The house breathes. The shadows lengthen. The mind, once corralled by the noise of day, now opens its hidden drawers. And somewhere between the hum of the refrigerator and the silence of your inbox, you begin to feel what you cannot name. It might be regret. It might be paranoia. It might be the lingering breath of someone who is no longer in your life, but whose absence still walks the halls. And now your task is not to fall asleep, but to build a legal case in your own head against the unreal. Try it. Go ahead. Try proving that the thing you fear isn't real. Can you prove there's no one watching? Can you prove you weren't cursed? Can you prove they weren't lying when they said it's nothing? Can you prove that nothing's wrong, that nothing's broken, that nothing is coming? Of course you can't. Because nothing doesn't stand for anything. It hides. It slips through language. It wears no shoes, leaves no prints, signs no contract, and still it keeps you awake. Team, the real issue is not whether something exists. The issue is whether you feel that it might. Feeling has no chain of custody. Feeling doesn't wait for daylight. Feeling doesn't ask for your permission. It arrives, it is. And in the dead of night, your brain becomes a flashlight, scanning the dark not for what is, but for what might be. This is the midnight hassle. This is the psychic labor of proving the unreal. And we do it all the time. We do it when a loved one doesn't answer. We check their online status, their last location, the tone of their last message. We do it when someone pulls away. We ask ourselves what we did. We try to remember if we forgot something. We reverse engineer reality, trying to confirm the presence of something we cannot name. A shift, a cold wind, a missing warmth. We do it when we hear a noise at night, a floorboard, a whisper, a voice. We get out of bed, not because we believe someone's there, but because we can't prove they're not. Now let me tell you a secret. The effort to prove non-existence is not a modern problem. It is ancient. It is spiritual. It is the ghost at the foundation of thought. Long ago, they tried to prove the non-existence of gods or of curses or of fate. Philosophers tried to deny evil by saying it was merely the absence of good, but the absence had a smell, it had a pattern, and try as they might, they could not shake the feeling that what wasn't real was still present. This is the terror of negative space. This is the power of emptiness. An empty chair where someone once sat, a voicemail that cuts off too soon, a prayer that doesn't echo back. These absences are louder than presence, and we feel compelled to explain them, erase them, solve them, because otherwise we are haunted. And we are haunted, not by ghosts, but by questions that refuse to resolve. So let's get serious now. Why is it always in the middle of the night? Why not at breakfast? Because the night strips away distractions. There is no spreadsheet to hide behind, no friendly barista, no deadline, no podcast. There is only you and whatever you haven't faced yet. The middle of the night is the courtroom where reality is retried. Everything you thought you'd settled during the day gets appealed. Are you sure she meant that? Are you certain you locked the door? Are you really a good person or just afraid to admit otherwise? What if that thing you ignored wasn't nothing? And so the brain puts on its suit and tie, calls its own witnesses, cross-examines the past. But no matter how many times you ask, you cannot prove the unreal. You cannot erase the suspicion. You cannot unhear the silence. You cannot talk a ghost into leaving. And still, some do try. They call friends at 2 a.m. just to hear a voice. They write emails they don't send. They open the fridge not because they're hungry, but because they want the light. They pace, they breathe, they pray. They try to build a cage big enough to catch a shadow. It doesn't work. But sometimes, if the night is gentle enough, if the air is right, if the question is held loosely, they find something better than proof. They find permission. Permission to not know. Permission to not prove. Permission to say, I felt it. I don't know what it was, but it was real to me. And that might be the closest thing to peace we ever get. Now, allow me to pivot. There is another layer here, one we must address. There are people, perhaps even some in this room, who have spent their whole lives trying to prove that what happened to them didn't. Trying to convince others that there was no abuse, no betrayal, no moment of collapse, that the monster in the room was just a figment, that their pain was unreal. They try to prove it by smiling, by excelling, by pretending, by minimizing. They gaslight themselves. They file away memories as misunderstandings, and they too do this work at night. They lie awake, holding both truths, that something happened, and that no one else will believe it if they can't prove it. But here's the tragedy. What cannot be proven is not the same as what is not real. Let me say that again. What cannot be proven is not the same as what is not real. Some truths do not leave fingerprints. Some traumas leave no scar. Some betrayals are surgical cutting only the soul. And so, if you are one of those who has been trying for years to prove the non-existence of your own pain, let me release you. You don't have to. You don't have to prove it to anyone. Not tonight, not ever. What happened, happened, even if no one else sees it, even if you can't find the footage, even if the lights were off and the witnesses were sleeping. Your truth is not on trial. And so, what then shall we do? Shall we resign ourselves to the unknowable? Shall we sit in fear of every creak and sigh? No, we are not powerless. There is a strange kind of strength in admitting the limits of our own perception, a deeper kind of peace than certainty, the peace of surrender. When we say, I don't know if anything is out there, but I will not give myself to fear, we reclaim our night. When we say, I don't need to prove the unreal, I only need to walk in what is real to me, we stop playing the prosecutor and start becoming the witness. And sometimes, just sometimes, that's enough to make the haunting stop. Let me close with this. There is a place within each of us, a room we don't visit often. In it is a single chair, nothing else, no windows, no clock. That's where the unreal waits. It is not evil, it is not trying to harm you, it is simply waiting to be acknowledged. So tonight, if you must wake at 3:12 a.m. again and feel the pull of doubt, the itch of mystery, the slow rise of unspoken dread, sit in that chair. Don't fight the unreal. Don't prove it. Don't erase it. Just sit and say, I don't know what you are, but I know I'm not crazy, and I'm not alone. Then breathe and sleep if it comes, or wait for morning. Either way, you'll make it. And the unreal, it will wait another night, because that's what the unreal does. It waits. But you live.